Now, yesterday when we adjourned, I was about to touch on the evidence regarding the J50s that were executed on the 26th of October 2022 and the arrest of all the accused persons before court. But before I do that, I just want to revisit clarification on this aspect. When case 636 was allocated to your team in 2018, there was also another docket 375 of 07-2019. Are you aware of that docket?
Yes, my lord, I am aware of the other dockets.
Uma ke siyaqala le 636 selinikezwa ke ithimba lenu kwakunelinye ke noma kunelinye ke idokodo eliku 375 ka 2019 ngabe uyalazi yini? Yebo ngiyalazi.
And as part of familiarizing yourself with the case in general, not a specific docket, would I be correct that you also familiarized yourself with 375 as well as docket 636 of 2014, I'm sorry?
No, my lord, I did not familiarize myself, my lord, with the phosphorus case 375.
Kulokho ngibuza kona ke ukuthi uma sesibheka ke noma sifuna ukuthi ke benolwazi ngeqala ngibheke ke u636 no375 cha u375 yena angizange ngimbheke.
Okay. Now let's go to what was put to you yesterday by my learned colleague, Mr. Mgomezulu. He referred you to two affidavits that were deposed to by Brigadier Gininda, a colonel at the time, or he was still a brigadier, I'm not sure about the title then. But he deposed two affidavits in support of the J50s to the magistrate at Boksburg Magistrates Court, A227 and A198. You remember those documents that were shown to you?
Yes, my lord, I remember the documents.
Ngiyakhumbula ke le statement ezimbili ebengibuze ngazo izolo ke Mthimgomezulu zakhe uBrigadier Gininda u8227 no A198.
Because yesterday you said the questions pertaining to those affidavits should be directed to Brigadier Gininda. My question will then be, under investigations conducted by your team and the gist of why we are here, the theory of the state's case as per the investigations led by your team, you are aware of that theory, especially pertaining to accused number 2, correct?
I'm not sure what do you mean by theory, my lord.
Let me give it to you this way. According to the investigations that were conducted by your team, and as specified in this affidavit, especially 198 of Brigadier Gininda, he mentions all the accused persons, their profiles, how they are linked to this offense. That is the theory of how they are linked to this offense. Now, with respect to accused number 2, the theory is this, or the investigation led to this. One, that accused number 1 was, I keep on saying accused number 2, I'm sorry. Accused number 2 was linked to the offense, the commission of the offense, 1, via utterances made to private individuals about this involvement in the case.
That's correct.
Kuyiqiniswa ke ukuthi ngokwalombiko ke noma le statement esenziwe uyena ke uBrigadier Gininda ukuthi uma echaza ke ukubandakanyeka kwabasola bonke okokuqala number 2 ngokuthi ngeinkulumo azenza kuba ebantwini abathize.
2, by the clothing he was wearing, that is a black hoodie.
That's correct.
Okwesibili ke ngaloko owayigqokile okwakuyihudi emnyama noma eyayimnyama.
And 3, via the identity kit, that is Exhibit J, compiled by Amanda Yvonne Steenkamp of the Facial Recognition Unit of the SAPS.
That's correct, am I aware?
Okwesithathu ke yebo ngiyazi ukuthi ke na ngomdwebo ke noma lokho kubizwa ngokuthi ke identity kit Exhibit J owawenziwe uyena ke uAmanda osebenza emaphoyiseni.
And over and above that, by the description of the people that were in the house at the time of the commission of the offense, and in particular by the dog identification by Zandile Khumalo and by Tumelo Madala.
I'm not sure about the dog identification.
Futhi ke nangendlela ke achazwa ngayo abantu ke ababesendlini, futhi ke nala enkantolo wase ekhonjwa ke abantu ababili, uTumelo Madlala noZandile Khumalo, uthi kumayela nalokho ke cha anginaso ke isiqiniseko.
Let me rephrase this one of the dog identification. Let me say, by the description furnished or provided by the people or some of the people that were in the house on the night the incident occurred.
That's correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ukuthi nge nangendlela ke achazwa ngayo ngabantu ke ababesendlini ngalelo langa lelo lesigameko.
Now from that is what I meant by the theory regarding the linkage of accused number 2 to the commission of the offense. Now, with regard to that evidence, what has been led so far, and I'll deal with that at Syria team, is the evidence of the people that were in the house, and the fact that, and I'm telling you that as a fact, Tumelo Madala and Zandile Khumalo identified accused number 2 here in the dock as the second suspect that entered the house that night during the incident on the 26th of October 2014.
That's correct.
Lokhu kona ke ngiyakutshela ke ngingangabazi ke ukuthi into eyenzeka khona la enkantolo ukuthi uTumelo Madlala noZandile Khumalo bathi ke uma bemilana bethula ubufakazi babo ke bamkhomba umsolwa wesibili nanjengomuntu ke lo owesibili kulaba abangena endlini ngalo babusuku kuyiqiniso lokho.
That is because I was probably here in court when they gave evidence. It's not something that I was briefed by Brigadier Ugininda.
Kungoba ke noma ngathi ke lokho kungoba ke ngangila enkantolo ke ngathi bethula ubufakazi babo hayi ukuthi ngatshelwa ke uBrigadier Ugininda.
And the one that I want to deal with now is the identification kit that was compiled by Miss Warrant Officer Amanda Yvonne Steenkamp on the 29th, if I'm correct, of October 2014. So I'm going to request my learned colleagues to assist me with giving of, I think it's Exhibit J. And if you can also have, it's this document that deals with the facial analysis recognition. It's A, because there's various of them. It's A46.
I got it.
You got it. Thank you. Now, before we go to the identity kit itself, but let it remain there. My Lord, I beg leave to, just for background purposes, to praise the witness of what's contained in this affidavit. If I may read, it's only 2 pages there, of page 4 and 5. Thank you, my Lord. And on the blue part it says, case 636, 2014, phosphorus murder and robbery. Amanda Yvonne Steenkamp do hereby make oath and state that on Monday 2014, 10/29, I was called out to phosphorus detectives accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel MJ Streicher, Operations Commander, Protea Glen, LCRC, to interview witnesses in case 676. I'm reading it as is, my lord. 676-10-2014, falsely arrest, murder and robbery. I interviewed several witnesses individually. My first witness was Kelly Khumalo. Kelly told me in short that she and the deceased walked to the convenience store. Upon return, Kelly, deceased, and family member and friends had a smoke outside the house. Ms. Khumalo called them inside to say goodbye. They sit down and start chatting again. Kelly was sitting near the kitchen when she saw two unknown African males entering the house. Suspect A appeared very aggressive and demanded cell phones and money. This suspect approached Kelly and the deceased jumped up towards suspect A. A scuffle between suspect A and the deceased started. The next moment, Kelly heard 2 gunshots. She gave the following description: African male in his 20s, dark brown shiny complexion, dreadlocks hairstyle, no scars, no facial hair, golden inset in upper teeth, language, local Zulu. He was wearing a brown jacket with a wooden collar. He was not clean in appearance. Suspect A entered the house first. He was armed with an old black revolver. Kelly could not describe the second suspect. After the compilation, she was satisfied with the ID kit. She compiled the face with the headgear. The second witness was Kelly's sister, Zandile Khumalo. She told a similar version and gave a similar profile and facial description of suspect A. The only feature she adds was eyebrows. She saw the eyebrows when suspect A lost his headgear during the scuffling with the deceased. She could not describe the second suspect. The third person interviewed was Tumelo Madlala, who was much traumatized. He saw the scuffling between suspect A and the deceased. After hearing the gunshots, he ran off to one of the rooms. He gave a similar description of suspect A. I showed him Kelly and a sister's compilation, and he was satisfied with the identity kit. He could not compile the second suspect. The fourth witness was Mr. L.S. Twala. He gave a similar description of what happened on the scene. He saw a scuffling between suspect A and the deceased. After hearing the shots, he ran out to look for help. He could not describe the second suspect. Page 5. The fifth witness, Mr. T. Makalede, residing at Muzamo 3942, compiled the face of suspect B. He saw 3 unknown African males in the vicinity of the gas station, busy on the cell phones. He saw them again at Kelly's mom's house. Suspect B stood at the gate. He gave the following description: African male, 25 years, 1.80 meter tall, slender build, medium brown complexion, clothing a black hooded top. Witness saw a golden inset in upper teeth, hairstyle, dreadlocks, facial hair, mustache and beard. Witness saw something in his hand that could have been a firearm. Witness could not describe the rest of the faces. A sixth witness called Sipiwe could not compile any faces, but he mentioned that he saw an old green-blue sedan near the danger box. 2 unknown African males were sitting in the car, and the other 2 were standing outside the car. After a few minutes, the car left, and only 3 unknown African males stayed behind, and they were busy on their phones. The witness later saw them running. In front was a person with dreadlocks running with a firearm in his hand. The other suspect jumps over the wall. Lieutenant Colonel Streicher and I left Foster as detectives to see Ms. Khumalo at her house. I interviewed Ms. Khumalo at the neighbor's house. She gave a similar description of suspect A I showed her the compilation, and she said she saw a likeness in the face. She could not describe the other suspects. Now, my purpose for this exercise, really, is this. If you look at the people that were in the house, that is, those that gave the description of the persons that were involved in the commission of this offense, i.e. Kelly Kumalo, Zandile Kumalo, Dumelo Madala, Longa Twala, and Makumalo. All of those people, according to the affidavit of Warrant Officer Steenkamp, they could not describe the second suspect. And we know that here in court, that second suspect was attributed to be accused number 2, Bongane Sandisondas. You see that? From what I've read, that the people that were in the house could not describe accused number 2, according to this affidavit.
My Lord, can I say in response to that, first of all, I did not dispose any affidavit, my Lord, in relation to this content.
Yes.
Yes.
Engizama ukuthi ngitshengise noma ngikuveze kuwena ke ngaloko engiqeda ukufunda ukuthi bonke labantu amagama abo ke esebiziwe abokheli Khumalo, uZandile, uLongwe, uMakakheli ukuthi ke lo owesibili umuntu abazange bakwazike ukumchaza kuyena uWarrant Officer Steenkamp nanjengoba kuyena nje owayedweba siyazi ke ukuthi ngokufakazi ke osebuthuliwe la enkantolo lo wesibili ke okhulunywa ngayo kuthiwa ke uyena uaccused number 2. Okokuqala ke uma ngiphendula angikusho ke lokho ukuthi mina ke angikaze nje ngithathe ke istatement mayilana ke nalokhu noma ngisibhale phansi.
And my Lord, I have never ever had an encounter with the person who disposed, my Lord, of this affidavit.
Futhi ke angaze nje nakancane ngihlanganeke naye lo muntu lo ekuyena owabhala ke lesi statement esifungele.
So I'm not in position, my Lord, to comment on what you are putting to me.
Manje ke angikho kisimo ke sokuthi ke sengaphawula ke kuloko wena okushoyo kimina.
Sergeant Mohola, you are a police officer, and I'm not going to cast any aspersions to you. As part of the investigating team, you assume the investigation of the case. And in the case docket, it says the previous 40 people that were fired, people are fired. Fired is used in this court, people are fired. The 40 people that were fired, investigating officer prior to yourselves, according to the evidence of Makubu, have done preliminary investigations, and amongst those, it's the identity kit, other investigations that were conducted prior to your team assuming or being seized with this investigation. Now, as part of familiarization, you will know that there is the identity kit that seem to link suspect A and suspect B to the offense. I'm not saying you personally were involved in the interaction with Warrant Officer Steenkamp, or you personally deposed to a supplementary affidavit pertaining to this document. I'm just reading you the contents to say, do you see in what is written in this document, ex facie, on the face of it, it says all the people that were in the house, they did not describe any feature of the second suspect that entered the house. That's the gist of my answer.
We're sitting in the same problem that we had yesterday when Mr. Mgomezulu was cross-examining. We have these witnesses who have given viva voce evidence. They've expanded on their evidence. We submit that it's unfair now to go back after they've even identified accused number 2 in court, to go back and say, but there's this document that was compiled shortly after the incident, wherein the issues that Mr. Ramsepili is referring to were traversed in Exhibit J, when they've given evidence, we submit that the proper way is to refer to that evidence to say, look, in totality, in addition, not only to this exhibit, but to their evidence, this is what they said. It's unfair to select just one portion of their evidence and to confront the witness with that. It's got to be based on the totality of the evidence, my lord.
Yes, Mr. Ramusepeli.
My lord, I don't know where the fairness is, because the witness can answer. If they can, they can. And I've got the records. And you know, sometimes the objections are premature. Because I was going to refer to the description, the dog identification that was done by both Tumelo and Ms. Kumalo Zandile of accused number 2. I've got the records, I've marked them for that purpose. So let me run my cross-examination now.
But this witness, is she able to comment? You said to her she can comment if she's capable of doing so.
Yes.
She gives a comment that she was not involved in this type of exercise. She never even communicated with Steenkamp. So what should she say,
She
according
could
to
simply
you?
have said, I can't comment. She shouldn't give me an answer that is parallel to the question.
Are you able to comment, ma'am?
No comment, my lord.
Simple.
Kulo bufakazi ke akukho engakusho bakushushisi uthi ke akho ngendlela ukuthi ummeli manje ase uyabukhetha ke ubufakazi ngoba ke usengakuhlanganisa lokho akubuzayo ukuthi labantu yebo yiloko abakusho kodwa asho ukuthi kukhona ke nalaba ababili abefika ke enkantolo base bayamkhomba ke umsolo wesibili athi ke ummeli cha bese bengizofika ke khona lapha kodwa ufakazi uthi cha akukho yena angakusho lokho.
And further, the other people that are mentioned here, if you can comment, a person called Sipiwe, mentioned by warrant officer Steenkamp, and a person called Makaleni. I can tell you as a fact that these are not the people that were in the house at the time of the commission of the offense. Would you agree with that? Sipiwe and T. Makaleni.
My lord, I can only comment on Makaleni because I was tasked to follow on him.
You were
Uma ukhuluma ke ngalabo abantu ababili ke uSiphiwe oMagaleni ukuthi ke babengekho endlini mina umuntu engakhuluma ngaye ke ukuthi uMagaleni ngoba ke nganikezwa ke umsebenzi ukuthi ke imlandelele.
Okay. What can you comment about Sipiwe Makaleni?
That Mr. Makaleni has passed on.
Ukuthi ke uSiphiwe Magaleni sewashona.
So it's issues of Section 3 of the Evidence Amendment Act. So I'll leave it that it's a point of law. I'll leave it
But
that.
has he made an
He has
affidavit?
He has made affidavits, my lord.
Okay.
Yes. And this Sipiwe person, you were not asked to follow up on him because they only mentioned Sipiwe. There's no surname or details given.
No, my lord.
Okay.
Kodwa kuSiphiwe yena ke angazi ngitshela lutho ukuthi kufanele khona kufanele kwenze malana naye.
Just to leave on this aspect of the warrant officer's facial recognition affidavit, and I'll put this to you. If it's speculative, don't answer it. She says at the time she had 22 years experience in the police and about 17 years as facial recognition, and that according to the affidavit, she compiles it according to the description that is given by the witnesses. Now, hear me out. If you can answer, you can. If you can't, you can't. If she says these 5 people that were in the house could not describe accused number 2, as a police officer, would you agree with me that she could not suck that information from the vacuum? It must have been given by those people that she says they couldn't describe accused number 2.
May you please repeat the question?
A warrant officer of 22 years, if he says Makumalo, Kelly Kumalo, Zandile Kumalo, Tumelo Madala, Longwe Twala, did not give me the description of accused number 2. She didn't suck that up from the air. She didn't make it up. Would you agree that's a fair comment to make?
That's correct.
Kuyiqiniso ke uma ukuthi ke uwarrant officer Steenkamp lona ke ubhalile noma uyasho ke lapha ukuthi labantu laba uKelly Khumalo, uZandile Khumalo, uMakhumalo, Longwe, uTumelo abakwazanga ke noma babe kwisimo sokuthi ke bamchaze umsola wesibili. Lokho kusho ukuthi ke into ayithola kubona akusiyona into ayicabangela.
Yeah, but for me, because Mr. Mgomezulu has put it that this is a cover-up. So you're saying, despite the fact that it has been put that the police, including yourself, were busy with a cover-up, you're still able to say, to give a comment fairly and not be subject to be giving a comment to cover up, as it is put by Mr. Mgomezulu.
My Lord, I'm just responding to this, my Lord, as an opinion. It's like he's making an example.
No, fine.
Because, as I said, I'm not the one who, I'm not the author of the statement.
Did you hear my comment about the fact that you are accused of a cover-up? Are you aware of it?
Yes, my Lord, it's actually the question that was put to me by Mr. Mgomezulu.
That's it. Now you're commenting on the investigation. Is it still under the cloak of you covering up? Just all I want to understand.
No, my Lord, there is no cover-up, my Lord, whereby, my Lord, I was involved in.
Okay.
Lo mbuzo ke oqeda ukuphendula manje ke ngiyabuzwa kumuphendula kodwa ke kunale nkulumo ke ekhishiwe noma ke ekhulunyiwe izolo yena ke uMr Mgomezulu ukuthi ke kwakunokuthi ke kwa cover up noma kwaku ikhona nje into eyahlanganiswa amaphoyisa lana ingaba lokho lo mbuzo oqeda ukuphendula manje uphendula ngoba ke ngalo mbuzo lo obuziwe noba ngaphansi kwaloko bekushiwo uyena uadvocate uMgomezulu ukuthi ninake ningamaphoyisa nje likhona nje ikulo noma into enaniphezulu kwayo cha mina ke akukho nje kwahlanganisa nokuthi ke kube khona nje into ephekayo noma ke itulo nje elihlanganiswayo.
Okay. Now, for contextual purposes and exactly what I said, I'll come to regarding the description that was given by Zandile Khumalo. That will be found, my Lord, at page 48, with the transcript of 19 July 2023. I think they'll show it here. July, page 48. Page 48 from line 15. It starts where, perhaps if I go to line 14, where Ms. Khumalo says, as I'm here in court, I saw the gentleman there. Yes, that's the line there, 14. And then just before the screen, it says, Mr. Baloyi, which one is it? From your left is accused 1 up to accused 5. And then Ms. Khumalo says, suspect number 2. And Mr. Baloyi says, yes, can you just, if you say suspect 2, what do you mean? Ms. Khumalo, suspect 2 is the one that had the hoodie following the one with the dreadlocks. And Mr. Baloyi, now, are there any specific features that enabled you to say that accused 2 is the second person who was in the house. We're going to page 49. Ms. Khumalo, on that day, as I explained, that I took a crutch and together with Tumelo tried to assault the person. I was with him and I looked at him very well. Mr. Baloyi, and how far were you from him, Ms. Khumalo? Our kitchen is very small. As you can see from the previous pictures there, that the stove is close to the sink is close to the door. So it's very close. Mr. Baloyi, are there any specific features that enable you to identify him? You have already placed the description on record, but you say you see him in court. What reminded you or what enabled you to say he's the person who was in the house on the day? Ms. Khumalo, his whole face, I remember well, his stature, his body, as well as his height when he was standing. Now, did you see accused number 2 before the incident? No, I did not. So those are the descriptions, and there's also a description that she gives with respect to what she added at the identity kit compilation with Mrs. Yvonne to the effect that she only added the complexion and she added the height. So that is the description that was given. But my point is that this description, as she gives here in court, identifying accused number 2, was not given to Mrs. Steenkamp at the compilation of the identity kit.
I think that's a matter for argument.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but this evidence was traversed by yourself, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Ramusipidi, when you were cross-examining Zandile Kumar.
Yes. So
And now we are repeating the same evidence again.
Now, I was just clarifying on the aspect that the objection was based on, my lord. I couldn't leave it hanging. Now, let us move forward. Upon the arrest of accused number 2 on the 16th of June 2020, subsequent to that, the 17th until they appeared in court, was there an identity parade held where the people in the house had to identify accused number 2?
My lord, I have no idea because I was not tasked, my lord, to arrange any identification parade.
Ukuthi ke emuva kokuthi eseboshiwe ummangalelwa wesibili nge-17 ukuya le phambili ke ukuthi ikhona yini ikhomba parade eyenziwa ke la abantu beyomiswa khona ke kuletho ufakazi ukuthi bayokhomba khona. Angikwazi lokho, angikaze ke ngitshelwe ke noma ngicelwe ukuthi ke angihlanganise lokho.
Now let us go back to the incident of the 18th of June 2020 when you, Brigadier Gininda, attended upon Sibanye Stillwater Gold Mine in Carltonville, and you met Sergeants Mabena and Mohani, who were already at that mine. Remember that date?
That's correct. I remember the incident of Sibanye.
Ngiyakhumbula ke ngesigameko sasesibanye nge-18 kaJune la sahamba khona ke kanye noBrigadier Gininda sasesihlangana phambili ke nayo uMabena noMogani.
And I'm just going to summarize your evidence and correct me if it's misquoted. You stated that upon arrival, Mohani and Mabena had already done inquiries. Brigadier Gininda asked them if they've got any document to show that accused number 2 was not at work on the 26th of October 2014. Do you remember that evidence?
That's correct, my lord.
Kuyiqiniso ngiyakhumbula ke ukuthi uma sifika lapho ke babe sebebuzisile ke futhi ke uBrigadier Gininda wabuza ke ukuthi kwakukhona yini abanako okutshengisayo ke ukuthi wayesemsebenzini noma cha umangalelo wesibili nge-26 ka-October 2014.
And Brigadier Gininda says, okay, let's go and get those documentation from HR. And according to your evidence, Brigadier Gininda and the two sergeants go inside the building, perhaps attending to HR, and you remain in the car doing some other administration. You remember that?
That's correct, my lord.
Ngasho ke nokuthi uBrigadier Gininda kanye nabanye nabo sergeant laba babini ke bangena ngaphakathi bona mina ngasala ke emontweni ngenza omunye umsebenzi.
Now, after a while, they come out, the three of them, Brigadier Gininda, the two sergeants, they talk amongst themselves. Perhaps let me ask you, did Bongani and Tanzi enter with them in that building when they went to HR for the second time in the company of Brigadier Gininda?
They went together, my lord.
Yebo bahamba bonke noma bangena naye ke uBongani uNtanzi uma sebe buyela lapha ngaphakathi behamba naye uBrigadier Gininda.
Now they exit, that is now the fourth of them, accused number 2, together with the 3 police officers. In your absence, they talk amongst themselves. Is that your evidence? Do you remember that?
Upon their exit.
Upon their exit now, once they've been to the HR to obtain whatever documentation they needed to obtain.
That's correct, my lord. They were just there next to the car.
Yebo kuyiqiniso uma sebebuya ke babe selapha yana ke eduze nemoto beyikhulumela bona bona.
And were you privy or could you overhear their conversation?
Not at all, my lord.
Ngizwanga ke ukuthi babekhuluma bethini.
My lord, if I may approach. I mean, that's it, my lord. Now they talk amongst themselves. What then transpired after that?
My lord, and then Brigadier Gininda jumped into the car, and then we went to Eratin.
Emuva kokuthi sebekhulumile ke uBrigadier Gininda wangena emotweni sasisiya ke eEratin.
Whilst there at Sibanye Stillwater, was there an occasion where the police officers, maybe in your absence of presence, went to the medical section of the mine to get documentation to determine whether or not accused number 2 had any injuries, in particular on his legs? Did you attend to the medical section?
I did not attend to any medical section, my lord.
Angizange ngiyeke la ekumayelana ke nempilo yakhe noma la kwayiwa khona ke kwihlangothi ke la ngasesibhedlela lapha emayini kufuna uyobhekwa ukuthi kwayinokulimala awayenako onyawoni lakhe yini umsolo wesibili.
And per your recollection, did Brigadier Gininda, together with the 2 other sergeants, perhaps attend to the medical section in your absence?
My lord, I have no idea.
Ukuthi baya ke bona uBrigadier Gininda kanye nabanye osargeant laba babili anginalwazi.
What I know is that they went inside the building.
Yes.
So as to which section they went to, my lord, I have no idea.
Engikwazi ukuthi bangena ngaphakathi kwibhilidi lelo ukuthi baya kuphi nendawo ke khona lapho angazi.
Because that place is big.
Ngoba leya ndawo inkulu.
Now, since your arrival with Brigadier Gininda at Sibanye Stillwater, did there come an occasion where Brigadier Gininda requested to speak in private, one-on-one with accused number 2?
My lord, as I said, I was in the car, I was busy with the work that I was doing. So as to whether there was a time where one was with the suspect, my lord, I really have no collection of it. because
Okay.
I was concentrating on what I was doing.
Bese ngishilo ukuthi angisemotweni ngibhekeke lokhu engikwenzayo ukuthi kwakunesikhathi ke la khona ubrigadier wayikhuluma nomsola yedwa eceleni angikwazi ke lokho bese ngishilo ukuthi ngizoyenza umsebenzi lo engangikwenza.
Perhaps if I pass it here with you, because I'll take it also up with the brigadier. He says at some stage in his testimony in the trial, within a trial, he stated that at some stage he requested to speak one-on-one with accused number 2. And that he confronted accused number 2 with this identity kit of the 2 sketches of a hoodie and the look-alike of a celebrity person this side. I'll be sued if I tell what the name is. This one here, the hoodie with dreadlocks protruding up to here, and put it to accused number 2 that this looks like you. It's got your likeness, and accused number 2 says, I'm not involved in the commission of an offense. This is a case of mistaken identity. And accused number 2 never at any stage then said, I want to confess. Brigadier Ugininda said after showing these 2 accused number 2, he then left the motor vehicle that they were in, and as he is leaving, is it too long, Mr. Jonas? You must stop me if it's too long. As he's leaving that motor vehicle, one of the police officers there, yourself or Sergeant Mohan or Mabena, says, accused number 2 is calling you back. He wants to speak to you. And that's when this thing of I want to confess came into the picture. So I'm just passing it here. It's not your evidence, but I'm just for holistical purposes, for contextual purposes, because this is the gist of why accused number 2 is here. And if I may ask you this, as you went to Sibanye Stillwater Gold Mine in Carltonville on the 18th, did Sergeant Mohan and Mabena have the case docket 636-10 of 2014 with them, or yourself and Gininda have 636 of 10 docket with you?
My Lord, what I know is that Brigadier Gininda was the one who was in possession of the dockets. As to whether there was a point where he has given a docket to Mohane, my Lord, I have no idea. And right now, my Lord, at this moment, I can't tell if he was having a docket or not, my Lord, because he will have his bag. So if maybe he did take it out or something, my Lord, I will comment, but I have no idea. As I said, I was in the car and I was focusing on what I was doing. If maybe I was involved in their communication and Brigadier excused us, I was going to be able to comment, because it will click in my mind that there was an instance whereby we were there and the brigadier asked that we excuse him. So right now, as I said, I was just focusing on my work.
Ukuthi ke mayelana nedokoto noma ke wayiphethe lalikuMukhane engikwaziyo ke ukuthi ke ubrigadier uyena ke umuntu ke owaye idokoto lihlala kuyena ke, kodwa futhi nesikhwama sakhe esiphatha ukuthi ke sasikela likena ke ngalesa sikhathi angazi noma njengoba bengisengishilo ke ukuthi ngangihlezi emotweni uma ukuthi ngangiyingxenye la ababe khona ke mhlambe ke ngangizoshoka ukuthi hayi kwakunesikhathi ke la khona asicela khona ukuthi asisimele eceleni. Udaba ke lo besabuza ke ngaphambilini noma abelusho bengasona ke umbuzo umayelana naleyithombe ezimbili ke la athi khona ke omunye lo uyafana ke nosaziwayo kodwa ngeke umshoke ukuthi ubani, ukuthi ke ubrigadier Gininda uthi ke wakhulumisana ubrigadier Gininda kufakazi bakhe uthi ke kukhona la akhuluma eceleni ekhuluma naye ke ubongani intanzi wase embuza ke futhi ngasithombe lesi ethi ke lana lo muntu onesithombe uwena ke futhi noma ke unelana afana khona ke nawe, washo ke umsola wathi cha akusimina ke lona akukho kumhlanganisa necala elenziwa. Kamuva ke wasephinde yabizwa ke ubrigadier ngokusho kwakhe kubufakazi bakhe ke omunye walamaphoyisa amabili wathi cha kukhona ke afuna ukusho ubongani, kodwa ke ufakazi lokho akaphendulanga.
My Lord, will this be an opportune time to take the short adjournment?
Okay, what's the time, Mr. Balogun?
It's 11.
Okay, 15 minutes straight then.